Alrighty, so here's something fun, new, and exciting with the Mercedes. That's happening to the radio display. So when you turn it on, that's what it says for the time. And when this falls off, that's what it says for the time. Nothing. So anyway, this polarizing filter has like melted because this radio runs really hot. I don't know why. It's probably a fire hazard. I should probably replace it. It's only like 30 bucks for a new radio, but it's going to take me like probably 4 or 5 hours to figure out how to wire that thing in with this nightmarish contraption of this weird resistor speaker set up in here. So instead I spent $7 on a set of polarizing filters, and I hope one of those is the correct angle for this radio, because otherwise I wasted $7. So we're going to pull one of these out, figure out which direction is the way it needs to be, mark it out, cut it, and just slap it right on there, because it's actually still sticky. So I might even be able to do this without using their adhesive, if they even have adhesive. But now I get to do that. Fun. Alrighty, so it looks like that is the orientation it wants, because it's legible. And if I rotate it the other way, you can still see it. It'd work either way, but this appears to be the most legible, at least for my eyes. And that's not great. That's pretty good. It's very good. It's not bad either. So it doesn't appear to be. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do, because this thing is literally the exact width of the screen. So all I have to do is just cut a 1/2 inch wide strip off the bottom. And hopefully that's the end of that. Well, for whatever reason, when I put it on there, it looks like shit. And I don't know what that's about, because it worked just fine. There must be something weird with the depth or the angle I got or something, because when I was holding it out here right in front of the thing, which I guess is ever so slightly at an angle this way, it looked perfectly fine. But you can't even read it from up here. It's actually better underneath than it is above. Anyway, I guess I'll pull it off, put it upside down, and see if that changes something. Well, I turned it 180 degrees, and it's not any better, really. A little bit better. So yeah, I must definitely have the wrong angle for this. Yeah, it's not bad down here. So yeah, I think I've got I don't know, what is this? Yeah, I got a 90 degree. I guess I needed 135. So anyway, live and learn. I'm not buying another one, because at that rate I could have just bought a radio. So we'll just put up with this, and it's sticky now. So I'm sure that'll be great for its visibility long term as it gets covered in dust. And we're just gonna have to replace this radio, I assume. Because, well, don't have a CD player, and it's a pizza shit anyway. I still gotta fix this antenna thing, too. Alrighty, so I just picked up one of these digital Tire Tech air pressure gauges off of Project Farm's recent video on that, even though this video is probably going to come out a year after that video came out. But anyway, I digress. So I just put some more air in the tires of the Merc, because turns out the gauge I've been using, even though it's brand new, is like 4 psi low. So she had 24 to 22 psi in all the tires all the way around. Oofda. So anyway, they're all up to about 33 right now. Manufacturer recommendation is 28 on the front, 32 on the rear. I don't know why, because there's more weight on the front. But anyway, I just did 33 everywhere, because why not? It'll balance out the fact that I had these underinflated for a hot minute. And while I'm talking about tires, I want to complain about Continental again. Even though I already complained about this on a different video, I need to complain about it again, because these are the tires that came off of my dad's car. And I picked these tires out, and we paid good money for these tires. We damn near paid $200 per tire for Continentals. I bought name brand, full name brand. And these tires don't even have 30,000 miles on them. And they are, if I can find the thing on here, I don't know how well this comes out, but this is a 700 treadwear tire. The UTQG, GQ, whatever it is, which generally means 70,000 miles. In fact, these things have a 70,000 mile warranty, and they are bald before 30,000 miles. Like, bald. Not like bald, but bald. Can't trust the French. Good Lord. So, yeah, we put Chinese Turos on there, and we'll see how well they do. But yeah, just never trust the French. Don't trust the Germans either. At least the Germans can make a damn engine. The French can't even make a fucking tire. Well, That's probably not good. That'll usually do it. So that's our first puncture in the Merc. She's a real car now. Anyway, I'm gonna go take this thing off park and probably break something and spin this around so I can jam a plug in it when I get home today. All right, she looked like an easy one, so I just went ahead and did her, and she pretty much was. And here's the culprit. It's a damn cheap-ass machine screw. It's not even a nail. But anyway, I'm going to go check the air pressure on this thing real quick. I put 30 in it and drove it over here. So it's probably down to like 25-ish, maybe 22 from popping that thing. And we'll get whatever it is, let it sit here, come back and see if it's leaking or not. Well, that appears to have done its thing. So, good deal. I don't have to worry about that now. All right, new tiny problem with the Mercedes. Brake pedal is sticking. Just enough that it's not actually doing anything with the brakes, but it is engaging the brake light, which is annoying. It's like there's slop in the system now or something. Anyway, I drove the car back home through a rainstorm, cold, then let it sit. And I have just had a shit ton of condensation here. Literally, the whole windshield was wet. I drove the thing like 15 miles just to dry the inside out with the windows down. So everything has just like a fine patina of dampness. And like, for example, the boost gauge was stuck and I had to tap it. So I'm wondering if it's just a little tiny bit of rust getting in somewhere in water, messing with lubricant. I don't know. I'm going to ignore it. All right, so I'm fixing to drive this thing 2 hours one way, 3 days in a row, and to work today. So I'm hoping whatever brake pedal stickiness works its way out before I'm stuck in gridlock in Charleston, confusing the hell out of everyone behind me. But anywho, it's that time of year where I have to turn the heater back on, and I just found out that my Super Stop Stick 4200 actually works fantastic. Well, not fantastic. It works pretty decently for turning that lever down in there without me getting diesel oil all over my hand or my nice pants. So that's cool. And my alternator has been squeaking again, but the belt isn't too loose. I mean, it could stand to be tightened, but not enough that I care to do anything. Everything else appears to be fine. Don't see anything out of whack, but ooh, that fuel filter looks pretty cruddy actually. She got some smuts down in there, but we'll just ignore it. We'll just lose some top end power out of that. Doesn't really matter in this pick till we really need to do that. All right, and I don't see anything else out of whack. Haven't really driven her much the last 6 months or so, just on account of the fact that I've been working on a fuel economy test in the Jeep, and she doesn't have AC, and that has AC. But now it's that time of year where that doesn't have heat, but this has heat, and it's getting chilly. So we're back to driving the Merc again. So I'm sure something will break here shortly. All right, we're just cruising through the Francis Marion. 3 days of 2 hour commuting back, and I think we're developing, or have developed, a bad front wheel bearing. I really feel like there's a lot of vibration now coming from my left foot, and it's been slowly getting worse. I first noticed it yesterday on certain roads, and now it's doing it everywhere when I'm above 60. And it feels like it's coming from the front left wheel. So either I've got a tire that's low, and that's, you know, just giving me enough of a, you know, bounce that something is happening, or I'm thinking the wheel bearings, that wheel bearing might be going. Now I didn't replace the wheel bearings. I think I just repacked them because I didn't want to have to fuck with taking the races out. So we'll see. It's not too bad of a job. So hopefully if it is one, I can just pop it out, pop it in, and be good and not have to press out races. Well, I looked under here and we got a lot of this going on. And I don't know what the hell that is. I think it's transmission fluid. It's not brake fluid. That's probably not good. All right, well, it's not oil because it's not full of soot. It's not brake fluid. We still have plenty of brake fluid. It's not coolant. I'm a little lower on coolant than I'd like to be, but it's still here, which is perfectly fine. Trans fluid appears to still all be there, so that's interesting. Doesn't really appear to be much of an oil leak. I did like run over a fender or something last night. Looks like it might be this line. Yeah, it's this line. I think I got enough to get home though. All right, I think I identified the issue. Looks like this bracket got smacked as well as the line. Now the line has vibrated a hole in itself. Great. All right, I don't know if it's gonna help or hurt, but I jammed a piece of a pine cone in there just to keep it off the metal, just to keep it from vibrating. I'm sure it's like a fracture or something, but basically I ran over like a piece of somebody's bumper or fender or something, pitch black, driving through in the rain, and there it was right in front of me. And so I straddled it with the wheel, and I think it must have done one of these and just smacked that thing just enough that it opened the bracket up and bent the line a little bit. And then I think it's just been sitting there vibrating, eating a hole into it. So I don't know how long it's been leaking, but I gotta go talk to a fella real quick, and then when I get back, I'll start the car up and just see if that's pissing trans fluid or not. I'm hoping it's been pissing trans fluid this entire time and it's fine, and that it didn't just spring a leak like the last mile, because I really don't want to have to tow this thing, and I'm outside my tow range for AAA.
All right, it appears to just be a pinhole. Good deal.
All right, so I'm trying to get the hell out of Dodge, and thankfully there's this nice white spot right here, so while I'm waiting on traffic, I gotta send it. I just checked and there was no puddle under me sitting there in drive, so at the very least, I wasn't leaking fast enough for it to show up after about 15 seconds of waiting. So I think it is really a pinhole, but I'm just gonna keep my eye out behind me now that it's not the middle of the night and raining. And if I start seeing a line behind me, we're going to give up and park on the side of the road and call AAA, because I can't do shit about that. Maybe if I can get to an auto parts store, I can like buy a hex thing, take that bracket off, put it back because that's one of the oil pan bolts, and like get a hose clamp and some like fuel line, and like slice the fuel line, put it over the spot, and then just like hose clamp it on either side. And you know, that's not going to be, you know, a hydraulic thing, but at the very least it can staunch the bleeding long enough that I could, you know, limp the thing home. Don't know what I'm going to do as a long-term solution, because, you know, that's not an aftermarket part you can buy, I don't think. Probably going to end up being something along the lines of that hose clamp sort of situation. Getting something that, you know, I can put on there with enough force that's going to stop that transmission fluid. I mean, generally the you know, transmission fluid running to the transmission cooler is not high enough of a pressure to be of a concern like that. So as long as I like, you know, put some RTV on it and then create like a waterproof seal, I think it should be fine. I don't know, I'll have to check and, you know, see what that kind of pressure actually is. And I'll pull over once I get through Georgetown and let it sit and idle for a second. You know, check the transmission fluid level, you know, in neutral with the thing warm, and just see what the hell it is, and check to see if it's leaking or not. If it's not leaking, then I'm just gonna send it home. All right, so just check the dipstick. It's down just a little bit underneath the lowest mark, so we've probably lost about a quart or two.
It's definitely leaking now.
Still not enough that I'm terribly concerned. I have transmission fluid in the back. I'm gonna top it off as best as I can and keep going, and we'll just stop every 30 miles or so. Alrighty, we topped her off. Only spilled several ounces of transmission fluid in this poor church's parking lot. Not too bad. I've leaked more other places. Thank you, Jesus, for the safe parking lot. We were only down probably half a quart, actually. I don't have a whole lot in my transmission jug. There might have been a quart in there. I probably spilled several ounces, and there's only about maybe 4 ounces or so left in there. But we're gonna go as far as we can. I should be able to get home on what I've got. But again, I will stop and check when I need to. Also, the way that I fixed the sticking brake pedal was a bungee cord down on the brake pedal. And that's been working great, except when it catches on the bottom of the dash. But we'll ignore it because we have bigger problems now. All right, we're almost home. I decided not to stop. We're just sending it. But the left turn signal is just working now, which is interesting. But I don't know. It's a going. Like, it's never been that consistent. Up there it went up. That's what happens when you say something. All right, we made it home. Let's see how close to the ragged edge we were running it.
Well, it's not leaking any faster. If anything, it's leaking less, which means we're
Either out of transmission fluid, which it wouldn't run, or it's whatever was up with it is slowed down. Well, there's still fluid on it. That's a good sign. Well, simmer down now. Well, from Santee, South Carolina to here, which is about 75 miles, it's lost 6 ounces? I don't know. It was all the way at the top of the hash mark, and when I filled it up, it was probably 3/16 of an inch below the hash mark. It was about halfway from top fill to low fill, below the low fill, and I added, I don't know, close to a quart? No, wasn't a quart. I have no fucking idea how much I added. It was, God, I want to say like 12 ounces. So it's an incredibly slow leak, which is good. That means if I got to drive this thing, I can drive this thing. We shall see. But I've been running ragged for several days, and currently there's no front drive shaft in the Jeep, so I have other issues to attend to. So I think I'm going to prioritize the Jeep, and we'll work on the Mercedes after we're done with this pig here. All right, so this tire looked low, and I just checked it, and it's got full pressure, so I don't know why it's doing that. But I also noticed, oh man, something in there. Something took a whack in there to my fender flare. Like shit. Whole damn thing looks like it's bent. That's odd. I hope my frame is not fucking bending, because like that really seems like it's out of whack. I'm hoping that there is not supposed to be a bolt there. But the other thing interesting I noticed is well, that's not good. You got a rust hole, and for whatever reason, there's a fucking fuse just in there. So I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see that, because as everyone knows, the best way to fix electrical problems is to ignore them. And oh yeah, so whatever the hell I did, ripped that sucker out, and it definitely is a different shape. And that's also softening as well, but that's just the battery right there, and batteries are replaceable. So that's interesting. No, the geometry is not any different. It's just this is just bulging out a bit. I think it's just, yeah. I think it's just a little bent. Yeah, that's not the cab, so it's not my problem. All right, so the Merc is on ramps. Let's just crawl underneath here, and let me give you a little bit of the game plan. So if you hadn't seen in the prior clips, there's the hole right there. There's a little ding right in here. That, how well you can see it, but there is a hole in that bracket, and there is a corresponding hole right there in the middle of the pipe. Just a little bit of a pinhole, just enough to seep at pressure. So my plan is to remove this oil pan bolt, which is on a spacer, and I'm hoping this clamp is just like a folded piece of metal, and I can just take this out, and then this clip, this bracket will just open up, and I can go stash it somewhere, and I can put this bolt right back in, and this whole line will be free balling. And we're just going to shmoo over the top of that after we degrease everything, put a piece of copper pipe over it, clamp that all the way over so it's nice and tight, shmoo over the top of that, and then once that RTV is fully set, then take that, cover that, or sorry, that's JB weld, and then cover all of this in RTV, then put a piece of fuel line over the top of it, then put hose clamps on that fuel line, and then that'll provide, you know, an anti-vibration thing, which is what this is supposed to do, which it is not doing on account of the fact that it'll be, you know, fuel line. And then additionally, you know, I can put, if this is like an open thing, I can put this back with just one thing through here and just fold it over and just have it around, you know, that fuel line, and then, you know, put a zip tie over it or something, and I'll still keep that bracket there. But additionally, while I'm in here, I noticed a fuck ton of blow-by, probably on account of the fact that I was driving this thing 70 miles per hour for like 6 days straight, 2 hours at a time. Additionally, that's a much bigger hole in the floor pan than I remember being there, and I think whatever I ran over might have done that, and that could have been why so much water got in there. Additionally, I don't like the way that crack is continuing to expand. So we may be under here with some license plates and street signs in the near future. Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah, bud. That's a whole lot. There is no metal here. This is, oh no. This is all just the undercoating right here. That's a no bueno. What even is this? I don't even know what this is right here. There's like bits and bobs and doohickeys and dinguses. Oh man. Yeah, there are a lot of license plates in the near future for this vehicle. That is not bueno. I have a feeling that's what that is too. Wunderbar. All right, so I got the bracket off, no problem, and it just goes back in with about 7 to 8 foot-pounds, 10 Newton meters. There's the bracket. It has a break in it, so it ain't in a good way. The other one, if you're wondering, is absolutely rock solid, so I'm not going to worry about it until it also does the same thing, probably in a year. But there's the problem right there, and it is passively dripping transmission fluid, which is annoying because that gets in the way of me trying to seal this thing. But I just cleaned it up as best as I could with brake cleaner and rags, and I'm gonna come back in here and I'm just gonna sand this thing with some 120 grit to give it some, you know, some sticking power. And the plan is I'm gonna take that 1/2-inch piece of copper pipe, which has an internal diameter of 7/16, cut a 2-inch section, split it down the seam, you know, trim off, you know, 1/8 of an inch so that it doesn't quite close around this. We're just gonna fill it up with JB Weld and then just open it up, slide it over, and just clamp the sucker on there with a pair of, you know, pliers with the round bits on the inside, and just probably put some hose clamps over the top of that and just let it sit for about a day or two. I guess Sunday now, it'll be Tuesday before I can get back to this thing, and we'll just give that JB Weld all the time it needs to cure, and then we'll come back in over the top of this, cover the whole rest of this in black RTV, and inside of a split piece of fuel line, then hose clamp on that, and that should hopefully be enough. And this guy, we don't worry about that little guy. All right, so we've got this sucker cleaned and sanded, and there's a piece of copper pipe schmooed with JB Weld, and we're just gonna put that thing on there, try and fold the copper around this pipe as best as I can, put some hose clamps on it, let it sit for 24 hours. All right, well, there that sucker is, all schmooed up, and we're just gonna let that sit for about a day and a half. Come back and encapsulate it, buffer it, slap some hose clamps on it. Alrighty, it's the next day, and she's all nice and hard, firmed up. Still got just maybe a touch of squish to it. We're gonna let it go for at least another 12 hours till tomorrow morning. But the real big thing is, it dawned on me that that hole, see that brown stuff? That's the rear carpet. That's underneath the seat. So is that sucker under there. So I gotta do something about that. Even if it's just throwing a damn trash bag or something under the seat. But yeah, oofda. All right, so it's now been 36 hours, and the JB Weld is very much set and hard as a rock. So we're ready to go. And what we're gonna do to finish this out is pretty straightforward. I've got this 3/8 piece of shitty fuel line that degraded in like 3 months on my Jeep and almost killed me in a car fire. which is not good for anything I care about, but it is good to serve as basically heater hose. This shit was probably heater hose that they sold me. Anyway, don't buy AutoZone fuel line. That's the moral of the story. But we've cut this to a 3-inch length, split it perfectly down the middle, and we're going to fill it with black RTV that I got for free from my friend's house that's probably 20-something years old, and that just took me like 5 minutes just to get the goo out of it. We're just going to put a nice bead right in the middle of this, and we're just going to stick this right over the top of that copper thing and JB weld that I have, and then just hose clamp it, you know, like here and here, just about 1/2 inch or so in on either side, just enough that it's on the copper, and just tightening it enough that it holds this in place. And so this will just add another layer of protection. It also has act as a rubber bumper to keep this thing from vibrating against the oil pan. Now I could actually put the bracket back on there and reattach it, but it's already vibrated through the line once. Let's just not do that again. So that's the plan. Hose clamp's already on there. I'm just gonna schmoo this, get under there, get it done, and then we just wait on 24 hours. Well, that ain't pretty, but it should hopefully serve its purpose well enough, which is just keeping this thing from vibrating against metal. And we'll just pretend that that doesn't contact that. And yeah, now I gotta figure out what to do about that. I hope I don't have to remove a seat. All right, so it's been about, I don't know, 5 hours or so, but I need my slab back so I can work on that mule over there. And I just don't have the time nor patience this weekend to work on fixing the floor, and it's starting to rain also. So I think my solution to that issue is going to be what it's been for a lot of problems lately, which is copious amounts of Gorilla Tape. So I'm just going to spray away the bottom of the floor pan, clean off the dirt and grime, then spritz it down with alcohol, and we're just going to put like a nice thick set of Gorilla Tape on there. It's a couple of layers. We'll do some crossways and then a bunch long ways, and just cover it up just so that it's waterproof, and it'll buy me until, you know, another month till Christmas break. Then I can figure out if I'm going to do anything, or I'll just forget and never think about this again. All right, it's dark and raining out, and I still got shit to work on, but there's that side patched up. And god damn, this is hard to video. And here's this side, and ain't perfect, and I didn't do the best job. It turns out it's really hard to clean 40 years of road grime off of a car with 409 and some rubbing alcohol, but the Gorilla Tape is finally sticking after washing it 3 times, and I think that's good enough to at least keep the rain off my feet for the next month. All right, so I've let the Mercedes sit for I think like 2 weeks, and we're finally driving it into work again, and so with any luck the transmission line is not going to leak. So fingers crossed, knock on wood interior. All right, so I drove to work and back, and now it's really windy, and there's a tree down across my road, but it does appear that our patch is holding up, at least for now, and the duct tape is still on my floorboards. Best I can figure. It's on the other side at the very least, so it's progress. All right, Merc's up on ramps, because today need to do a overdue oil change. If you recall, I did not change the filter the last time I did the oil, and I realized, you know, just kind of, it dawned on me about 1,000 miles ago that this thing is incredibly sooty. I mean, it's a high capacity oil filter, but I probably shouldn't be running 10,000 miles on these oil filters. I'm probably fine to run the oil a little bit older, but I really should not let these things get above 8. So anyway, we're at like 5,000 miles in the oil, so I just need to get that out of there. Get some T4 in there, new filter, and generally just check up on all the small concerning things. The patch that we did is perfectly fine. I haven't seen a single drip come out of it. There's not a lick of transmission fluid on it, but everything under here is still very greasy because I haven't driven it a whole lot. The front main is hemorrhaging oil now, so the seal fix has been burnt up, so we're going to put a new thing of seal fix in there. I need to check trans fluid and just make sure everything is hunky-dory in there, and then top it off if it's at all low, but I need the engine to be hot to do that, so won't be doing that today, but it was fine the last 2 times I checked it. And additionally, I've still had this bungee cord on the brake pedal because it was sticking, and seems to be fine now. So I think it was just the fact that this thing set for a couple months with rain, you know, percolating inside of here, and it just got a rusty spot, and that's since been worked out after I sealed off the massive holes in the floorboards. Brake pedal seems to be fine now. I do want to look at the Gorilla Tape and see how well that... Okay, God, that fucking golf cart over there has just been puking rust onto my damn slab. Well, it's peeling up next to the exhaust. A little bit of a peel right there, but it's still doing really well, so I'm just going to continue to ignore it until I hear flapping. Driver's side is holding up very well as well. A little bit of a peel right there, but nothing too bad. I really do need to do something about that damn drive shaft center bearing at some point. Looks like the rear seal on the trans is starting to leak, probably on account of the center bearing. Need to check all the air pressure too, because, well, felt like I had a loose bearing up here, but I think it's just because I hadn't driven this thing in months and I just wasn't used to how much the car shakes. But, you know, front bearings is on the list for some time in the future, as soon as they start to get far more noticeably bad. I think that's pretty much it for what I want to do today, and we'll carry on into the future. I think that's all I want to do for today. And it's fairly cold out, but it's supposed to get absolutely frigid this week. Well, for here, it's supposed to get into like the 20s, which is extremely rare here in Charleston. So I want to get this done. I can't do anything else this weekend because the president's coming into town and it's Martin Luther King Day. So everything's closed and Charleston's going to be an absolute fucking shit show. So anyway, this is what I'm doing for my long weekend off, is automotive repair. But I digress. We're going to pop the oil plug, get the old oil out, get a new filter in. And while we wait for that to drain, because it'll probably take 2 damn hours for all the oil to get out, just go around and see if we find anything else immediately worrying that we need to do something about. All right, old oil is out. Looks like I have most of it, probably. Oil filter looks very sooty, as to be expected. Seal fix is in, full 8 ounces, 2.5 quarts of leftover T4, and then we're going to put in 4 more quarts, and then 1 quart out of that. Well, that's 2 1/4. 1.25 quarts out of that, and that should put us right about 7.5. I can't find accurate information on how much it's supposed to be in here. It's between 7.5 and 7.9. I remember putting 8 ounces in here before, or 8 quarts in here before, and it was a little unhappy about that. But we are chooching through oil, so I'll double check it. But 7.5 quarts to start. All right, so owner's manual says the full capacity of the CD is 7.9 quarts, 7.5 liters, but that doesn't specify whether that's a change. You know, the transmission says initial fill and change. You always have some amount of oil that's caught in, you know, the engine cooler and all that. So we'll go with 7.5 quarts and see where that gets us. All right, all the goop's in. We ended up doing about 7.8 quarts, so she'll eat it. She'll be fine. What's a little bit excessive oil capacity in a diesel engine with excessive blow-by anyway? And I want to check the transmission, and of course this is not going to be perfect because, you know, the engine's at an angle and it's cold and it's not running, but this will at least tell me whether or not, you know, we've lost anything since I last filled it. And we're right at the fill line, so I'd say we're pretty good for now. I'll have to check that at a later date when it's warm and idling at neutral. Drinky, fuck. All right, so pushed her over here, checked all the tires. They're all fine. I'm gonna go run her around, make sure I've got full oil circulation, and get the trans up to temp. Check that, make sure that's where it's supposed to be. And that should be it for this video, I think. I don't think I'm gonna mess with anything on this thing for another couple of months. All right, drove her around, got her up to temp, and 3 important things. Changing the oil filter results in it taking like a full 4 to 5 seconds for me to get any oil pressure, which is really spooky, so I should probably dump some oil into the oil filter housing next time. The brake appears to not be sticking anymore, so no more lights, and I got a whole pile of oranges. Huh. Well, that sucker appears to have broken off, so that's interesting. But anyway, a little low. I'll add about a half quart. And that should be fine after I do that. All right, Trans is topped up. We'll see if I overfilled it or not. We'll see if I overfilled the engine or not. But I think I'm done for this weekend. I think I'm done for this video. So if you like what I'm doing here, consider giving the video a like, comment. Tell me if you've got a solution for how I can fix those disintegrated floor pans. And if you want to see how I eventually fix that and the rest of everything else that'll eventually get done to this slowly dissolving piece of German U-boat technology, you gotta subscribe. So smash the big gray button down there. Until next time, I'm out.